There's something you do, probably without even noticing it. You're stuck, genuinely stuck, and somewhere in the back of your mind you know that someone, a friend, a colleague, maybe even a stranger, could help you in 5 minutes. But you don't ask. You circle the problem alone for days. You lose sleep. You convince yourself you're almost there, that you just need a little more time. And when someone finally notices and offers to help, you say, "I'm fine, I've got it." You don't have it, but you say it anyway. Here's the strange part. You're not lazy, you're not proud in a simple way, and you're not incapable of connection. You just have a powerful, deeply wired resistance to asking for help, and until you understand where it actually comes from, it will keep costing you. Psychologists call this self-reliance as avoidance, and it's not a personality quirk. It's a learned protective pattern with roots much older than your current situation. It shapes your decisions quietly. It makes you take on more than you should. It turns what could be a 2-hour problem into a 2-week spiral. And it does all of this while making you feel like you're being strong. That's the part worth paying attention to. Think about the last time you needed help but didn't ask. What happened in the moment you considered asking? There was a pause, a kind of internal scanning, and then your brain decided, without consulting you very much, that asking was somehow more dangerous than struggling alone. That feeling isn't random, it's a prediction. Your brain is a pattern recognition engine, and it's running a risk assessment every time you consider vulnerability. It's calculating, based on everything it's ever recorded, what happens when I need something from another person. And for a lot of people, the historical answer to that question isn't great. Maybe help came with conditions, maybe it came with judgment, maybe asking made you feel small, or exposed, or like you owed something you couldn't repay. Maybe it simply didn't come at all. Your nervous system filed all of that away, and now, years later, it activates the same protective response, even when the situation is completely safe. This is where it gets more complicated, because the resistance isn't just about past experiences. There's something else happening, something that runs even deeper than memory. Your identity is involved. Neuroscience tells us that the brain treats threats to self-image almost identically to physical threats. The same regions activate, the same stress response fires, which means that asking for help, if your brain has coded it as a sign of weakness or inadequacy, feels like a threat to your survival, not metaphorically, neurologically. This is why logic doesn't fix it. You can know, consciously, that asking for help is rational and efficient, and still feel a visceral pull away from it, because the part of your brain making that call isn't the logical part. It's the part that's trying to keep you safe, the part that learned very early what safety required. Think of it like a fire alarm that was set too sensitive. It goes off when there's smoke, yes, but it also goes off when you burn toast. The alarm doesn't know the difference. It just knows threat protocol activated. For many people, this pattern started in environments where self-sufficiency was rewarded and dependence was not. Homes where emotional needs were dismissed. Families where asking for help created conflict. Classrooms where struggling meant falling behind and exposing weakness. Children adapt. They find the safest emotional strategy and they use it until it becomes automatic. For some, that strategy was become capable enough that you never need to ask. And that strategy probably served you. It helped you survive environments where vulnerability was unsafe. It made you resourceful, independent, and difficult to destabilize. But strategies outlive the environments that created them. The same skill that protected you at 8 is now making you overwork at 32. The same instinct that kept you safe in an unpredictable home is now turning down help when help is freely offered, with no strings, from people who genuinely want to give it. This is important to sit with. You're not broken. Your nervous system did exactly what it was supposed to do. It learned and it adapted. The problem isn't that it learned this. The problem is that it hasn't been updated. Here's the part that usually goes unnoticed. Not asking for help isn't just costly in terms of time or efficiency. It has a quieter cost. When you consistently handle everything alone, you send yourself a message hundreds of times without realizing it. The message is, I am someone who cannot be cared for. Over time, that becomes a belief, and beliefs shape what you look for, what you allow, and what you quietly rule out before anyone else even has a chance. You start choosing situations that match the belief. You pull away from closeness before it can feel like dependency. You mistake self-reliance for self-respect. The two are not the same thing. So what does it actually look like to start changing this pattern? Not in a dramatic way, in the small, neurologically honest way that actually rewires behavior. The first step is to notice the moment of resistance, not fight it. When you feel that pull to handle something alone, don't force yourself to ask immediately. Just notice. Name it. My brain is running the protection sequence right now. Observation interrupts the automatic response just enough to create space. The second is to start so small it almost feels pointless. Ask for something low stakes, directions, a recommendation, a small favor with no emotional weight. What you're doing is giving your nervous system new data. You're teaching it through experience that asking doesn't have to end badly. This isn't a mindset exercise. It's literal neural repatterning through repeated low-threat experience. The third is to separate the act of asking from the story about what asking means. The story is where the damage lives. If I ask, I'm weak is not a fact. It's an old interpretation written by a younger version of you in different circumstances. You're allowed to rewrite it. Not by talking yourself out of it, but by slowly accumulating evidence that contradicts it. The fourth is to practice receiving. This is different from asking. It's letting someone help when they offer without minimizing it, deflecting it, or immediately evening the score. Just saying thank you, just letting it land. This is surprisingly hard if you've spent years keeping everything in balance. The fifth, and perhaps most important, recognize that interdependence is not weakness. It is actually the most sophisticated social strategy humans have. We are wired for it at the species level. Our brains release oxytocin when we give and receive care. Connection is not a vulnerability, it's a biological need. And pretending otherwise doesn't eliminate the need, it just starves it quietly. If everything you've just read felt uncomfortably familiar, that's not a coincidence. You recognize this because it's been running in the background of your life for a long time, not loudly, just constantly, like a tab you never close, using up resources you could be spending somewhere else. You don't have to fix this overnight. You don't have to immediately transform into someone who asks for help easily, but you can start with this. The next time you're struggling and someone is available, pause before you say, I'm fine. Not to force yourself to ask, just to notice that you have a choice. That moment of noticing is where everything begins. Your brain learned this pattern to protect you. That means something. It means you're someone who figured out how to survive. It also means you're someone who's ready, even if only quietly, to figure out something better.